First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up and tired of the way that things have been. Oh, ooh, the way that things have been. Oh, ooh. Second thing, second, don't you tell me what you think that I can be. I'm the one at the sea. I'm the master of my sea. Oh, ooh, the master of my sea. Oh, ooh. I was broken from a young age, taking my
That was Imagine Dragons' Believer, the Romy Wave cover and SG remix. Welcome to the Rise Weekly Review for August 29th through October 5th, 2022. Jason Mundo and David Deveaux died after a shooting in South Chicago on Sunday. The two were among four who were shot in the incident, which occurred on the 8600 block of South Kingston. The four were sitting on a porch of a home around 6:50 p.m. when two people reportedly approached them and opened fire. The shooters were reportedly armed with a rifle and two handguns. 18-year-old Jason Mundo was struck multiple times. 20-year-old David Deveaux was hit in the back and abdomen. Another 20-year-old was struck in the abdomen, and an 18-year-old was struck in the thigh and forearm. Mundo was taken to the University of Chicago Hospital where he passed away. Deveaux and two others were taken to Christ Medical Center. Deveaux passed away at the hospital from his injuries. The other two that were shot were last reported in fair condition. Mundo was reportedly preparing to move downstate with his family to escape the violence in Chicago. DeVoe's father, who was supposed to celebrate his 60th birthday, instead spent the time mourning his only son. He, his wife, and their pastor spoke to interviewers on ABC News. Anyone with information on this or other Chicago crimes are asked to call 311 or leave an anonymous tip at cpdtip.com. On Friday, 27-year-old Jaelon Brownlee was killed in South Chicago. According to reports, Brownlee was standing on the street on the 8300 block of South Colfax around 12:50 p.m. Someone reportedly drove by him in a black SUV, and someone from inside the vehicle opened fire. Brownlee was found in the nearby gangway with a gunshot wound to the back. He passed away at the scene. A man was stabbed to death in South Shore on Saturday. Around 7:30 a.m., the 38-year-old man was reportedly in a domestic altercation with a woman on the 2100 block of East 69th Street. During the incident, the woman pulled out a knife and reportedly stabbed the man multiple times. He was taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where he passed away from his injuries. The woman was later taken into custody. The man has not yet been identified. A 15-year-old boy was wounded in a shooting on Friday in South Chicago. The teen was walking just before midnight on the 7900 block of South Crandon. According to reports, four men approached him and fired close to 45 rounds at the teen. He was struck in the back twice and taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center. He was last listed in critical condition. A 30-year-old was wounded in a South Shore shooting on Friday. The man was in his vehicle on the 2500 block of East 78th Street around 10:21 p.m. Someone approached the vehicle, and he then heard shots and felt pain. He was struck in the back. The Chicago Fire Department arrived on the scene and took the man to the University of Chicago Hospital. He was last reported in critical condition. A 19-year-old was shot near Trinity Hospital on Friday. Around 10:30 p.m., the 19-year-old walked into the hospital located on the 2300 block of 93rd Street. He had told officers he was standing outside of his car when he heard shots and felt pain. He was hit 3 times in the right hand. He was last reported in good condition. On Saturday, an 18-year-old young man was shot near Bowen High School. The teen was in his vehicle on the 8800 block of South Marquette when a male approached him. The male displayed a handgun and demanded property. The victim attempted to drive away when the male opened fire. The 18-year-old was struck in the upper left arm. He drove himself to Trinity Hospital and was last reported in good condition. On Labor Day, a man was shot near Niños Giros in South Chicago. The man was walking on the 2900 block of East 83rd around 10:54 a.m. Someone reportedly began shooting at the man. He was grazed by a bullet near the ear. The man refused to go to a hospital for medical treatment. On Labor Day, a 40-year-old man was shot in South Shore. The man was riding as a passenger in a vehicle around 12:44 a.m. on the 7500 block of Paxton. He heard gunshots and began to feel pain. He was struck in the left eye. He was taken to the University of Chicago Hospital and last reported in critical condition. A person is dead and 6 people, including 4 children, were injured in a Hammond crash on Labor Day. Around 6:45 p.m., Hammond police responded to the crash on the 7000 block of Southeastern Avenue. According to witnesses, a black vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed northbound on Southeastern attempted to pass another vehicle when it crossed the center line. It then reportedly crashed into a gray Jeep traveling southbound. The driver of the black vehicle was identified as Geraldo Nazario of Hammond. Nazario passed away at the scene. 4 children were among those in the vehicle that was struck. According to reports, all 4 children were taken to the University of Chicago Comer Children's Hospital. They were last reported in stable condition. The driver and passenger received minor injuries. Police say there was no evidence Nazario was racing the vehicle he was attempting to pass, and a toxicology report is pending in an attempt to learn more about the crash. During the week, Fox News provided an update on the murder of 7-year-old Jeremiah Moore in East Chicago. Moore was killed in East Chicago near Guthrie and Main Street, July 12th, after someone fired shots at a car he was sleeping in. The family was at a gas station when a red Dodge Charger with tinted windows followed them and then pulled up and someone opened fire. Moore was sleeping in a car seat in the back of the vehicle when he was struck by a bullet in the head. The family rushed Moore to St. Catherine's Hospital, where he passed away from his injuries. 3 other children and 2 adults were also in the vehicle at the time of the shooting. Police
Jeremiah, he was the greatest 7-year-old I ever knew. Fun, outgoing, loving, caring. He had a good sense of humor. He was a community activist to stop the violence in Chicago. He let it be known that he didn't like what was going on in his own city.
And he was passionate about that at 7 years old.
Very passionate about it. You see it so often on the news. I just never thought it would be my kid.
What happened on that day in July?
It went from just a simple stop at the gas station to my car being ambushed from 3 different ways. From behind, in front, and on the driver's side. Only a few hit. Unfortunately, the one that came from behind was fatal.
Elijah was right next to his brother Jeremiah. Imagine what this child has to live with the rest of his life.
My 9-year-old thought that were fireworks at first, until it dawned on me that those were bullets ricocheting off my car. I screamed, "Get down," for all of my kids to get down, but Jeremiah was asleep in his car seat.
Wow. Have the police been in touch with you?
Not really. I've been doing most of the calling.
What message do you have for the police?
To give me something better than what they're giving me. They're living their lives on a regular basis and mine will never be the same. Don't let me feel like all hope is being lost. That his death is being swept up under the rug. I just didn't want my son to be a statistic. I dedicated my entire life to my children.
Your life was really just starting.
It was really just starting, excuse me.
And so was Jeremiah's.
And so was Jeremiah's.
Now you're back on the south side of Chicago. Do you have any concerns?
I'm definitely concerned about the violence in Chicago.
Do you feel as though Kim Foxx and the mayor, Lori Lightfoot, are doing all that they can to keep the citizens in Chicago safe?
I can just say that what they have been doing is not enough.
Do you think they need to get tougher on crime?
I do. Chicago's like a gun range. It'll never get better.
Never.
You'll always be looking for, you'll be looking for your brother. I'll be looking for my son. It's their voices you can't forget, their love you can't forget, the hugs you won't get back.
Yeah.
You'll never get back.
do not yet have anybody in custody. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Daniel Ponce at 219-391-8318 or anonymously at 219-391-8500. On Sunday, family and friends gathered at a Lansing parking lot to honor the memory of Anton L Harris, otherwise known as Twin. 36-year-old Twin, who was from Gary, was found dead in the Calumet River on November 4th. He had been missing for several days and was last known to have been with a friend between October 31st and November 1st at River Oaks in Calumet City. Tiffany Edmonds and 3 of Twin's family members searched for days by the Little Calumet River near Torrance. Edmonds was Twin's friend and business partner. The 4 purchased inflatable boats to search the river and eventually found his body. Edmonds said she had contacted police on November 1st about Twin and was disappointed with the response. She said she felt an officer judged Twin and told her he was probably just hiding from trouble. Medical examiners listed Twin's cause of death as drowning, but the case is still under investigation. Twin had no children of his own, but was close with Edmund's children, who remembered him fondly and considered him family. He was remembered as genuine and always there when someone needed him. At the event on Saturday, his friends and family members released balloons in his honor and left a memorial plaque near the river to honor his memory. Tenants of a South Shore apartment building held a press conference during the week after going over a month without hot water. Residents gathered on Labor Day at the apartment building located on East 68th Street. Residents say that despite a number of calls to 311, their building went 34 days with no hot water. A resident filed a complaint back in June, but city inspectors claim in a release statement they were unable to get access. An inspector claimed the building had a boiler problem and management incorrectly installed a new boiler that kept malfunctioning. In their statement, the Department of Buildings said they visited the building last week and it had hot water. They also mentioned there is an active court case for the property with the court date set for December 6, 2022. British Petroleum said on Friday that its operations in Whiting were set to return to normal operations. According to BP, the boilers and electric utilities that were involved in a fire have now been restored. On August 24th, a fire in an electrical system forced the site to shut down. On Friday, BP said it would restore at least partial production by Sunday. The refinery began restarting operations on Wednesday, the 31st of August. The rules waived by the US EPA for selling winter-grade gasoline during the summer months will still remain until mid-September. The U.S. Transportation Department also waived the rules limiting the number of hours truck drivers could haul motor fuel to Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. No information was found on when those rules would be resumed. On Saturday, the Chicago Labor Day Parade returned to the east side. The parade began at 12 p.m. and ran from 102nd and Ewing to 112th Street to Edgar's Grove. Following the parade, a festival organized by the Chicago Federation of Labor, held in honor of the late U.S. steelworker organizer Ed Salowski, was held at Edgar's Grove. Hundreds gathered to watch the parade, which saw its first return since the COVID pandemic. Bea Lumpkin served as the festival's Grand Marshal. Lumpkin began organizing unions as a teenager in New York, but eventually moved to Chicago to become a schoolteacher and later a tenured professor at Malcolm X College. Community groups, union representatives, and Chicago candidates joined the parade. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, along with candidate Raymond Lopez and Willie Wilson, were among those at the parade. Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza was also at the parade. On Labor Day, Chicago 10th Ward Alderwoman Susan Sadlowski Garza announced her retirement from office. Garza became the 10th Ward's first alderwoman in 2015 after forcing former 10th Ward Alderman John Pope into a runoff. Pope had served 4 terms as alderman. Garza won the runoff by 20 votes in a highly contested election in which Pope refused to concede. Following protest outside of his office by Rise, Pope conceded and agreed to drop his bid for a recount. Garza was the daughter of union activist Ed Salowski and grew up on the southeast side. She was formerly a Chicago Public Schools counselor at Jane Addams and served as a vice president of the CTU under Karen Lewis. She was among the union leaders who protested former Mayor Rahm Emanuel's school's closings in 2012. As Garza announced her retirement, news reports highlighted various accomplishments of hers while in office. Garza was known for bringing the Labor Day Parade back to the ward, along with the redevelopment of the Old Republic Steel Plant into an industrial park and seeing the ward through the COVID-19 pandemic. As chairwoman on the Committee for Workforce Development, Garza helped pass the Fair Work Week and wage theft ordinances, raised the city's minimum wage to $15 an hour, laws to protect domestic workers, and helped secure $1 million in settlements for Burger King and Modeles workers who were the victims of wage theft. Garza's term will end on May 10th. She reportedly decided to leave office following the murder of her 30-year-old goddaughter, Amanda Kalo. Kalo was killed by her estranged husband, Antonio Alvarez, an Illinois State Police officer who later committed suicide. Garza said in an interview with the Sun-Times she was leaving office to take care of and spend time with her family. Garza had a working relationship with Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot, but occasionally broke with her. Over the past year, Garza had issues with local environmental groups over her response to the development of a metal shredder by Reserve Management Group. The list of candidates looking to replace Garza is expected to grow in the coming months. A member of the environmental groups that began organizing against Garza, Oscar Sanchez, announced he would be running for alderman last month. However, as we began wrapping up this week's review, Ana Guajardo from Centro Trabajadores Unidos announced her candidacy. More information on the candidates will be reported on in our special election coverage. And that ends our weekly review for August 29th through October 5th, 2022. Thank you for joining us for this week in review. Peace.